I grew up in a small farming town in Wisconsin, always filled with music, very much so. Like both of my sisters were musical, my mom sings, my dad grew up playing music, so very much a music-filled house. As I got a little older into my teenage years, I started to really fall in love with worship specifically. I led worship here and there growing up through high school and through college, but I started leading worship at a little church in New Hampshire. I didn't know it then, but I had ended up picking up some wounds just because of the way certain things were handled in my life, misunderstandings with leadership, just carrying wounds sometimes from things that were not done intentionally, but when you're a kid, you tend to take in a lot of things. I was always looking for approval and always looking to impress people, always looking to be the best, because I had learned that unless you were the best, there just isn't room for you. I was really good at acting humble and saying the right thing and acting the right way, so that no one really knew that inside I was really broken, but also really arrogant. No matter what kind of approval I had, if I had leaders, friends, whoever it was, just encourage me, it was never really enough. That's always what I was looking for, but it was never enough because I had this hole in my heart. The only thing that could fill that hole was the Lord. After I graduated college, I was leading worship at a conference in the Boston area, and at that conference were some people that I really looked up to, and they pulled me aside at that conference, and the husband told me, "You've been carrying around some wounds, but the Lord's about to take care of them because you've gone as far as you can with those wounds." And of course, I was a little oblivious to my own wounds, as we often are, and I felt like I was pretty healthy at that particular moment, but I logged it away. The wife ended up pulling me aside a little bit later, and she told me, "You are at a crossroads right now, and you can either choose to minister to man or you can minister to the Lord. And if you minister to man, you'll be very successful, but you won't minister to the Lord. Or you can choose to minister to the Lord, and this is your choice that you have to make." And that was a very sobering moment for me. It came out in this process that I didn't trust the Lord, that I saw myself more as a servant than as a son, that I had to do exactly what he said or my life would be miserable. Ended up being about a week before my birthday. I was having a quiet time, and I was working through this whole concept because I knew what the problem was, and I knew that the disconnect was on my end, and that I needed to work through it. The Lord showed me that what had happened was I'd started listening to the voice of doubt instead of his voice, and holding it as more true than what the Lord said about me. And when I realized that, I said, okay, I'm just going to take care of that, and I repented for it. Right before I got up, I paused for a second and I said, "Lord, thank you for meeting with me today." And what happened in that moment was the Lord showed me that he had been waiting for that moment in my life from the beginning of time. That he was so excited about that moment, that second of that day, that he had been looking forward to it, that he was waiting for me to get there because he knew when I got there what it was going to do for my life. And right then, I felt it all break. And it was like a domino effect going backwards, and it just undid all of these doubts, all of these lies that I believed. And I was able to see the goodness of the Lord in my life in ways I'd never seen before. And I was no longer threatened by other people doing well, but I was actually able to celebrate them and able to come alongside someone and encourage them and push them forward instead of hoping that they would mess up so I'd look better. Every one of us has moments like that where the Lord says, "I can't wait for that person to get there." Because when they do, everything's going to change.